Good morning, I'm Hunter Sanders.
And this is Nash Young, and you are listening to H&N Talks. Rise and shine. You're listening to H&N Talks.
Welcome into H&N Talks. Like I said, I am Hunter Sanders alongside Nash Young. Today we're going to be talking about fitness and how it affects our worlds today. Over this podcast, over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, whether it be sports, religion, everyday life, college life, psychology, random facts, relationships, personal investments, a lot of different things. Our opinions are going to be expressed, but we're also going to be informing you a lot based off facts, logic, research, and arbitrary thought in some cases.
So each podcast will be preferred to be between 30 and 40 minutes. Today we're going to start with a fun fact of the day. There's a study by Brown University who monitored about 24 runners. The researchers found out that listening to Pharrell's Happy, the song Happy, boosted runners' enjoyment by 13% as compared to people listening to a TED Radio Hours podcast, and then 28% against people listening to nothing. So that's pretty interesting. That kind of music in general boosted people's performance.
Wow.
So that's why when you go to the gym, Hunter, you always have to have your earbuds because you're always like, I can't go to the gym.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of fun.
I had my EDM bumping.
Hey, EDM's sick. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a little story. Let's kind of start off the fitness thing. So this past weekend, me and Hunter ran a 5K, and it was actually Hunter's first 5K. So I'm a runner. He's a tennis player at Austin Peay. So I'm always running, so I've done this. I've been down that road many times. So I wake up at about 9:45 on a Saturday, and Hunter's already at the gym grinding. He's always grinding. So he calls me at 9:45. I just woke up, and he's like, bro, run this 5K with me in 15 minutes. I was like, 15 minutes? Are you kidding me? No way. So I actually give in like I typically do, and I'm very dehydrated. We go run the race or whatever.
I want to interject real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I was at the gym, like Nash said, and I was walking on the treadmill, warming up, and across the street I see them setting up, and I decided that, it was a sorority on campus that was throwing the event, and so I decided I wanted to run. But I would like to say before I called Nash, I knew he was going to say yes. Because A, it was running, and B, he's just the type of guy who's just down to send it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Anyway, continue.
We send it, always. So we warm up for about 5 to 10 minutes before. Typically, I'm like a 20 to 25-minute guy. But Hunter is not super into running, so he doesn't really care. So we actually get up to the line, and Hunter's kind of, I guess he's a little bit nervous. I don't know. Were you a little bit nervous before we started running?
More excitement than nerves, certainly a little nerves.
Because your serotonin levels are always low. You have very low serotonin levels, so you just don't really care as much about it.
Right, but when it comes to anything competing, I think the adrenaline just kicks in.
The adrenaline just kicks in. Okay. So we're on the line, and he's kind of just like, what are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, I'm just going to pace you. Let's just go. So get up to the line, the gun goes off, and we start running, and all these little kids and all these people go out. At first, I'm like, dude, don't worry. No worries. So we probably go at, I don't know, 6-minute something pace at first, and he's doing well. Hunter's not training to run. He's playing tennis, and he's always working out and walking on an incline treadmill. So he's in decent shape. So we get through the first couple miles, and he starts huffing and puffing a little bit. I'm encouraging him and all that stuff. And so we're getting on the last part of the stretch, and he's struggling a little bit. But I was really surprised at how good a shape he's in for the amount of time he puts in. Just running and fitness in general, he's really good shape. We ended up running, I think it was 3 miles. It wasn't a 5K.
It was a 5K.
1911. Okay, we'll just go with that. 1911, which is 6:20 something pace. So Hunter, it's bravo to you, man.
I appreciate that. I would like to give you all the credit. Nash was very, very encouraging. He was showing no signs of pain or shortness of breath. And then I was aching right behind him. I was actually drafting him. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with drafting, Nash could probably explain it a little better. But basically, you run behind somebody so that they take the wind for you.
Exactly.
And it makes it about 7% easier to run.
Absolutely. Yep, you got it right. That's right.
And so that's what I was doing, and it was significantly harder for me than Nash, obviously, because I don't do this for money, and Nash does.
That's right.
But it's a
So-
great segue into fitness and how it affects our lives.
That's right. Hunter, how about you start us off with just how it affects your life in general?
So fitness is a big part for me, and I don't have a super emotional fitness testimony or anything, but basically what it comes down to is in the 8th and 9th grade, 10th, 11th grade,
All the grades.
I was a little overweight. I wasn't obese, but I was a little overweight, and I was never super comfortable with how I looked or how I felt, especially maybe at the pool in the summertime with the shirt off. And I think just what it came down to is I saw people who had better physiques or who honestly were just more physically fit than I was. And I thought, I want to look like them. And then through research and collecting data a lot of different ways, I realized that anybody can do that.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great to, we'll get into this a little later, I think it's great to be comfortable in whatever skin that you're in. And like, like fat is beautiful. That's fine. That's fine. It really is. It's fine. And I don't have a big problem with it. I don't necessarily agree with it. But I didn't feel super comfortable in my skin, and I wanted to be comfortable.
Rightfully so.
And so, like, I was obsessed with it at first. And when I say obsessed, I mean, I don't even know if I've told you this, Nash, but so I played tennis throughout my last 3 years in high school, and we had morning practice before school. So we had practice at 5 in the morning. And I would get up, and I would go to the gym at 4 in the morning before practice, before school, and I would work out for an hour. And then I would go to practice where we would do more fitness.
Wow.
And so I was just obsessed with it. And so I took off pretty quickly into it. And then since then, it's just become a lifestyle.
That's amazing. Like, seriously, that's so amazing to show people that the grind, it's all about the grind. Like, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, no one does that. And that's what separates a Division I athlete, I would say, in a humble way. That's what separates Division I athletes from the other people. I think there's a statistic that shows that 97% of people in high school sports don't go on to play in college. And out of that 3% that do, less than 1% get into the Division I athletics, and then after that, it's like 1% of the 1% go professional. So I think that's very interesting that you're just a rare breed. Like we are, we're just rare breeds. Like most people don't do it.
Right, and like you said, you can relate to that because especially when you get a late start, like both you and I did into our sports, you just have to work that much harder to get to the level you want.
That's right. And another thing is you started late. You said you started your sophomore year in high school. In tennis, I mean, I don't play tennis, but it's a very skill-related sport, and if you don't have the skill, you're not going to do well per se. But you're super athletic and you're very adaptable, so you can pick it up real fast. I just thought that was amazing. I mean, most people play tennis. They start when they're like
5, 6.
5, 6.
Yeah.
And like you didn't, and you're here. So God definitely had a plan. And by the way, we are Christians, and we will hold those views, I guess, pretty heavily in this. But I think that's very interesting, though. Just to kind of segue into just briefly my story. I played basketball. I started playing when I was in first grade, and I wanted to pursue a college athletic dream in basketball, preferably Division I. And God just definitely didn't have that in the plans. I started getting injured, and I had trouble with coaches because it was just I guess I was just soft, and I wanted to go out for the cross country team my junior year to get in shape for basketball, and I basically just quit basketball to pursue cross country, and I thought maybe I could go Division I, and God willing. And so I had a couple college offers coming out of junior year, and the rest is history. And I'm very glad. There's been a lot of hardships along the way, but God definitely provided in that area.
Yeah, so I want to touch on a little bit how different our fitness is in our lives, because obviously fitness is both a massive, massive part of our lives.
Absolutely.
And I would even say that, I mean, fitness for your sport is essentially the whole thing.
That's it.
It's just being in shape.
We're the punishment for your sport. We're
Right.
the punishment for every sport.
And I can't imagine doing that willingly.
Yeah.
But so for me, like my fitness, Obviously, playing tennis, I get great cardiovascular workout. I run a little bit on my own. Like you said, I'll do like incline walk, some cardio. But for me, it's more not bodybuilding, but it's more the bodybuilding side.
Yeah.
It's more lifting weights. And honestly, it's more for aesthetics than performance, I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean, they come hand in hand,
They
but I would say it's more for aesthetics than performance. But tell me a little bit about how different your fitness is compared to mine.
Okay, so my fitness is not as aesthetic. You see a bunch of poles walking around and running around, so it's definitely not an aesthetic look. But okay, so I guess from a going back in time, like what where genetics were made for, we were made to go hunt and go run after our prey because a lot of the prey that we hunt are a lot faster. I mean, for instance, like a deer. A deer, I think, can run up to 30 or 35 miles an hour. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. But we can only top out. I mean, Usain Bolt topped out at about 27 miles an hour. So we are meant to be stamina based. Like we're meant to go for a couple miles and then kill our prey. So for us, that's kind of what we were built for. But I would say we're built more for a little bit of strength as well, kind of like in the area. You said you might want to do CrossFit, so running and weights go hand in hand. But for a runner, that's all we do. We just run. And I don't think running just doing that constantly, I do not think it's good for you. I mean, typically most runners, if they keep doing it through old age, they look a lot older because it's so stressful on your body. And like having a balance between running and weightlifting, I think is crucial. I don't think running 10 miles every day or 12 miles, whatever, is great. So
I think that's why part of the reason I love fitness so much because there's so many different levels to it.
Oh man,
Like you said, running is pretty much your whole life for fitness.
Exactly.
But for me, it's a very minor part of mine.
Yes.
But either way, it's feeling the most fit for yourself and feeling the most comfortable.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree with that. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, most of the time you should probably not be doing it. Now, obviously, you need to push through the pain, and like if you don't like something in general, there's some times where you just got to get through that. But in fitness, if you're not enjoying it, then you need to go do something else that you enjoy. Like there's swimming. You can join the jump rope team. Yeah, and you can go lift weights, you can run, you can do whatever. And they have so many different machines now in the gyms that you can probably find something you like.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what it means to enjoy it because
Okay.
so for me, I really enjoyed running that 5K
Yes.
on Saturday with you.
Okay.
And it was something out of my comfort zone, and it was something I hadn't done before, and it was something that was painful at the time
Yes.
towards the end. But so maybe like in the moment I wasn't necessarily like this is so much fun. This is awesome. I feel amazing. But before the race and after the race and the end of the race and looking back on it, it was just such a fun experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the way that fitness is a lot of the time is in the moment you're going through some pain, and it may not be super fun at the time, but it's the big picture.
It is. It's the big picture. And to segue into kind of the after effects of running or lifting, you get endorphins. And endorphins are basically the feel-good chemical after you, like, work yourself super hard. And so I think a lot of people are addicted to that, addicted to having endorphins and just feeling really good after their workout. And I think that's a big kind of motivation, at least for me. I don't know about you, but, like, when you're done working out and you're just like, man, I feel so good. I think that's something that we can both attest to. Like probably after you ran the 5K, you probably felt like you're amazing. I'm saying like too much, but anyway.
No,
but yeah,
it's like a high, like you said, and
Yeah.
it really is a high because your endorphin spike. But like yeah, I mean I felt great afterwards, and I went through a lot of pain in the moment, but I felt super good after.
exactly.
You mentioned you said some people are addicted to it.
They're addicted.
And I think addicted is a very, very strong word.
It's very strong.
So, Nash Young, would you say that you're addicted to fitness?
Absolutely, Hunter Sanders. I would say addiction, if you do it every day and you can't go a day without it, and that's how I feel about fitness. I cannot go a day without it. If I do, I'm like, man, something's off. I definitely think I'm addicted to fitness. And addiction, you're right, it's a strong word. But in this case, I think fitness is necessary for our daily lives. We're meant to move. We're meant to work out and put our body under stress to improve ourselves. So, yes, I'm addicted. Would you say you're addicted?
I would say the same thing. And at first, I would have said no, just because addiction is a very strong word, and addiction affects so many people's lives so negatively.
Yes.
And we'll get into this a little later too, and I think fitness has its negative effects. But I would say I'm addicted. I cannot go a day without working out in some form or fashion. And so, for example, we practice tennis 2 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And then we have conditioning and weights an hour every day. And I also lift weights on my own an hour outside of that in the recreation center here.
Yeah.
And when I'm forced to take a day off, which is few and far in between that I force myself to do that, but if it's truly necessary, it's very, very hard to do.
Yes. Yeah, I seriously, you always come in. I almost always tell you, you'll be like, man, like my elbow hurts or something hurts. I'll be like, dude, just like take off or something. You're like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to go to the gym anyway.
It's an addiction.
It's
really, it's not even like I've heard this like super hard mindset before where it's like, nah, dude, like I have my goals and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to reach them.
Yes.
That's really not even what it is. It's just an addiction and I enjoy it and it's a habit and I'm not going to stop.
It's cool to it's cool to put a shirt on and be like, man, I look pretty good compared to the normal population at least. And then
Sure.
people, like, you can take your shirt off or whatever at a pool and be completely confident in yourself and not worry, I guess, about what people think of you. Because today, and to segue into that, the obesity rate is at an all-time high. In the United States, it's almost 40%. And at age 20 and over, including obesity and overweight, almost 72% of people are overweight and obese at the age of 20 and over. How crazy is that? 71 or 72%.
Man, can you believe it?
Unbelievable. And I think the reason why that statistic is there is people are eating like crap, and on top of that, they're not working out.
So you just said it, but I'm going to ask you again. So tell me what causes that.
Okay,
I want like the core thing of what causes that.
Okay, so statistically, sleep is a big deal. Food is a big deal, and working out is a big deal. And if you're not getting all those, okay, so I was looking up something the other day. There is a trend that people are getting more sleep nowadays, but sleep is actually big time related. There's a big correlation with how much sleep you're getting and how heavy you are in a sense. And so when you're, I guess, not getting enough sleep, it's actually better to stay on a more consistent base sleep time. So if you get that time where you don't get that extra hour of sleep or whatever, you'll actually feel a lot better if you're consistent with your sleep and less sporadic. So I'm very sporadic and I feel like crap a lot of the time. So I need to actually, like, when I'm preaching now, I actually need to like go do it. But yeah, so not getting enough sleep is related to weight gain. There are two hormones called ghrelin and leptin. So ghrelin, I think it's ghrelin, stimulates appetite, and leptin actually decreases it. So when sleep deprived, ghrelin levels actually spike while leptin levels fall, which increase hunger. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to feel more hungry and you're going to start eating more. And I think that's another reason. And now trends are actually going up, but people are theoretically, they're not getting enough sleep in a sense, and they're eating like crap, and they're not working out. Because when you're tired, you want to sleep, and the less sleep you're getting, the more time you're gonna have to eat. So that's definitely a big thing. It also, so a lack of sleep also starts a process in your body that raises your blood level of a lipid called endocannabinoid, and this makes eating food even more enjoyable. So you're gonna get more like that because you're not getting the sleep you need. So you're gonna get more enjoyment out of the food. So people who lack sleep eat twice as much fat, and then more than that, they eat 300 extra calories compared to the people who get enough sleep in general. So I thought that was very interesting. And 300 calories for someone that doesn't work out. I mean, you can. It takes what is it? 3,500 calories to make a pound. So if you multiply that times 7 days, that's 2,100, and you're just going to keep going up after that. Plus, not working out. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because you wouldn't think, you would not think that sleep plays a large part into whether we're quote unquote skinny or not.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think the big thing is calories.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't realize that. But it's basically calories in versus calories out.
Yes. Oh yeah, calories in versus calories out for sure. Or yeah, they correlate with each other.
So I think that the main cause of obesity is laziness.
I'd agree with that in a sense.
Right.
In a sense. Yeah.
It's just people are lazy.
They are.
And they want to get the food that's easily accessible, like
Absolutely.
McDonald's or Taco Bell down the street. And they don't get into the gym. They don't make it a habit is the problem. And when it becomes a habit of sitting around, then it becomes that much harder to get in the gym. But vice versa, when you start going to the gym or you just start working out regularly or exercising in some form or fashion,
Yes.
it becomes a habit and you don't think of it as hard work anymore.
I agree with that. I mean, in a sense, you wake up some days and you're like, man, I don't want to do this, but you push through it anyway because you know the after effects of it and you know that you want to feel good, look good. So it's definitely motivation there. And once what is it, 21 days to form a habit? Is that true? Okay. I don't know. I'll have to look into that more. But yeah, so if you do it for 21 days in a row and you start enjoying it, it's like, man, you're gonna continue to do that versus just taking a bunch of days off and then being like, man, I got to get back to the gym. Because a lot of people, they go to the gym and they start going and then something pops up and they stop going. And then they start gaining all their weight back. You're like, man, like you were doing so well. Like, why stop now? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something. Laziness is a big part. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. You were talking about.
Well, okay, I can segue in this. You're talking a little bit about McDonald's or like I guess fast food in general. So color. Think about this. Color actually plays a vital role in getting people to come to their place. So according to psychologytoday.com, a study called Impact of Color Marketing, researchers found that up to 90% of Snap judgments made about products can be based on color alone. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Like, we're in a red room right now, so these very nice bright colors or whatever, warm colors, they actually draw our attention. So like McDonald's is yellow and red. It makes sense that they take up. It's probably the biggest fast food chain in the world, and so I think color has played a role in that. And plus, once you get hooked on it, the brand like sticks in your mind. So color doesn't actually play as much of a part then. But you're gonna be more likely like, let's go get a McGriddle, man. Like that's a good, or the pancake breakfast, and you're just gonna keep doing that, and it's cheap. So people want to eat that, and all these chemicals that are going into their body, it's unbelievable how many carcinogens are going into these foods that we eat. And so I definitely think that plays a big role in the obesity epidemic in America.
And not so much related to food, but I've heard that orange is the most attractive color. And that is why Home Depot has been so successful. It's because they have intentionally taken it to the extreme. And everything is orange in their store.
It's like UT.
Right.
UT fans take everything to the extreme. It's like Alabama, too. It's like the big colleges take it to the extreme. So you're right, though. Home Depot, for sure, I could see. I mean, do you think they're bigger than Lowe's? I don't know.
I'm not sure. But point aside, they're a very, very successful company.
Yeah. Oh, they're super successful.
And they've used that as part of their marketing scheme.
Okay. Interesting. So cozy colors in general, like, make you feel like you just want to sit there and relax. So going into a coffee shop, people will sit there and it's very brown. So you're more likely to stay there for a while and just enjoy it versus going there, getting your food, and then just leaving or whatever.
Like Starbucks, it's brown and dark green.
It's brown and dark green. So you're going to be more likely to stay there, sip on your coffee, whatever, do work. So I found that very interesting, too. So when you think about these things, if you guys ever take this into consideration, when you look at colors, it can definitely play a vital role in the decisions that you make. And I was dumbfounded by that statistic. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
I want to go back a little bit, and you were talking about, we were talking about when fitness becomes a habit.
Yes.
And how when you look at it, it's like, you know, the after effects, you know how you're going to feel afterwards, so you go do it anyway. But honestly, for me, I don't even really think about that too much. Obviously, it's like in my mind subconsciously, but I just think about it as like, this is what I always do.
Yes.
So I'm going to go do it.
Exactly.
I really, it doesn't play like I don't think about it a lot.
Okay.
I just do it.
You just go do it.
You just
exactly.
go do it.
And again, I think you're the difference between you and me. In a sense, you're more about the aesthetic part about it. You mentioned earlier, and I do like the feeling of it. And plus, you can. I know this sounds terrible. This is a bad way to go about fitness, but eating in general, you can eat more, and you can feel. I don't know how to explain it. Like when you eat healthy, you can fill yourself up a lot more with good foods, and not actually like put on tons of weight because of how low the calorie. It's very dense. But it's lower in calories, and so eating healthy, you can fill yourself up more, and plus you can go work out and you'll burn more calories in general. So yeah, I think the difference between is like you're more aesthetic and you don't think about it as much versus I'm like overanalyzing it all. But yeah, I think it's very interesting.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because you mentioned eating healthy.
Yeah.
And so tell me what you think about eating healthy compared to just eating low calorie.
Okay, eating healthy fruits, vegetables, lean meats in general. So when you're eating all these low carb, low calorie, low fat foods, and they usually, if you read on the ingredient list, because fun fact, when something is listed on an ingredients list in the front, that means it's like there's more of it in there. So whatever is listed in the first part of the ingredients list, that's what the whole product is probably more made of. So they're putting added sugars in there. They're artificially putting more things in there to make you taste the same thing before. So it's a cover up. And so yes, do I eat some things here and there that have that? Absolutely, because it's like, oh, I'm eating low sugar. Oh, I'm eating low calorie in general. But just eating a very, we're not carnivorous, so we don't eat meat. We're not made to eat meat. Our stomach acid is a lot lower than animals. So meat is good here and there. Like, it's good to eat, but vegetables and just plant-based stuff is more of what our bodies are put into. And there's a documentary on that. I'm sure a lot of people know what that's called. I forgot what it's called. But that point aside, eating healthy in general and just eating what we're supposed to eat, just fruits, vegetables, stuff like that, it's definitely the best way to do it for overall health.
So here's what I think about that.
Okay.
Is so when I first started getting into fitness, my senior year of high school, I'd say, I started really looking into it, and I started watching a lot of like social media bodybuilders or social media celebrities.
You want to give a couple that you like to watch?
Sure. Yeah. I started watching Christian Guzman. He is
he's a tool.
Most of these guys are tools.
Yeah.
I started watching Christian Guzman, and I started watching Bradley Martin. Still a big fan of Bradley Martin.
He's a good guy, but kind of a tool.
Steve Cook, another big one. A lot of people watch him.
Kind of a tool.
And then one of the ones who's not a tool, I would argue.
Okay.
Max Tuning.
Oh, dude, you're right. Max Tuning's very humble guy. He's very skinny.
He's humble.
But he's super strong.
Well, he's skinny relative to his friends.
Relative to his friends.
But he's not skinny.
But he in the weight room, man, he's not skinny at all.
The guy deadlifts like over 600 pounds, and he weighs 160.
You know what
70.
makes him different from all the other YouTubers that you just mentioned? He's very intelligent, and all the other guys are very intelligent, but he's very charismatic, and he's just very, I don't know, another word to explain, he's just very intelligent, and you can tell he is, and so he makes little puns and jokes throughout his YouTube videos that are kind of like enticing to the viewers, and plus he lifts like crazy amounts of weight.
Yeah, I think he's very witty.
He's very witty. That's a good word to describe it, for
and
sure.
he puts a lot of effort into the content he puts out, and he
does.
goes through extremes to get different angles.
Little B-rolls.
Yeah, different angles, different B-roll for shots that last like 3 to 5 seconds.
Seriously.
But anyway, so I started watching a lot of them.
Yeah.
And a big thing with a few of them. Another one is Devin Physique. I don't even know if you've watched him.
I don't think I have.
But he's kind of fallen off the map. But I watched him originally. And a big thing with them is IIFYM, which is if it fits your macros.
If it fits your macros.
And your macronutrients are your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. And your carbs and your proteins are both 4 calories per gram, and then fat
is 9 calories.
Yeah, is 9 calories per gram. And so basically what is you have set macros that you need to eat. So maybe, for example, very rough for me, if I'm trying to cut weight and I wasn't playing tennis, I would try to eat like 180 grams of protein per day.
Okay.
I would try to eat 65 grams of fat, and I would try to eat 250 grams of carbs.
Okay.
And basically what IFYM is it's like flexible dieting. So it's more of a lifestyle than a diet, because you can eat whatever you want to get to meet those macros.
Yeah.
You can eat Taco Bell if you can fit it inside of those macros. And it may take up a lot of your fat, but then this means you have to eat cleaner throughout the rest of the part of the day.
And drink a lot more water because it's sodium filled.
True. But so that's where I was originally. And so I was like really hard into IFYM.
Okay.
And I thought it was the way to go. And I still think it's a great way to go. But when you look at it and you want to eat more, the quote-unquote healthier foods or more nutrient-dense foods like fruits and vegetables are going to fit inside of those much, much easier.
Yes.
And it makes it way easier to meet that. And you don't feel like you're forcing yourself quite as much.
Oh, for sure. And that's why Weight Watchers, their program or whatever, they do a point system based on like how bad the food is. So like, for instance, if you have a bowl of Alfredo, chicken Alfredo, I guess, that's like 30-something points. And some people only have 30 points in a day. It's just based off of like how nutrient dense it is. And so some like lettuce, it's like nothing. I don't think it's any points.
They have free foods.
They have free foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of based off of what you were just saying of how they're nutrient dense and they basically don't even affect you that much, but they're just filled with micronutrients, which micronutrients are just as important as the macronutrients. Like you mentioned, the protein, the fats, and the carbs. So the micronutrients are super important as well because we need vitamins. We need minerals as well. So I that's very interesting. But if it fits your macros, though, it's very cool.
Right. And like you said, Weight Watchers, you do get more points, or less points rather, if you eat nutrient-dense foods. But the way that the system is set up is it's going to be impossible to eat in a caloric surplus, to eat more calories than you're burning, if you follow their points.
Yes.
And so, like, I know my dad did it for a little bit, and they have, like, the free foods, like I said.
Yes.
But even, like, chicken breast, for example, is a free food.
Chicken breast.
Chicken breast, because it's so dense, and you're not going to eat enough chicken breast to get in a caloric surplus unless you're really, really trying to.
That's very true. Because protein is proven to fill you up more than I think any of the other ones. It just, I don't know what chemicals in it to make you to do that, but I think that's true.
Yeah.
So
and it takes longer to digest as well.
That's interesting. I was going to mention a couple of YouTubers as well. So if you're interested in just doing workouts in your house, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want to pay for a membership, there's a couple HIIT workouts, which is high intensity interval training YouTube channels that just do 30-minute workouts. And high intensity interval training is basically you go for a minute and then you get 30 seconds off, and then you go for a minute or reverse. You go 30 seconds on, 1 minute off. So there's a YouTube channel called Millionaire Hoy, and I know that sounds like really weird, but he has a very up personality, and he promotes HIIT training or whatever, and they're very easy to do, and he has alternative motions if you can't do them. There's also Fitness Blender, and these are like top-rated YouTube channels, and they also do HIIT, and they do yoga. Yoga is very important to just keep the muscles limber, I guess. And so, and also I watch Chris Bumstead, Bradley Martin, and Max Tuning, Steve Cook, Callum Von Mager, so we can both relate on that. Most of them are tools, but it's okay. It's fun to watch just that whole industry and how they, obviously some of them take steroids, but they don't usually promote that. And I'm not for steroids either. Natural is better.
So we have about 5 minutes left here.
Okay.
And I want to. So you mentioned a lot of them were tools.
Yes.
Which, I think tool is a funny phrase, but it is pretty common in the fitness industry, and that's one of the negative sides of it. is when you get too consumed into something that's so all about yourself, and it is. You can say that you want to inspire others or you want to motivate others, and I think that you can certainly do that. But when it comes down to it, it's literally all about yourself and your body. And as you mentioned earlier, you and I are both Christians, so we look at things through a little different lens.
Absolutely.
But the vanity that comes along with getting so consumed in fitness is toxic.
It is. It's so toxic. I mean, okay, to back that up, in gyms, they have mirrors everywhere, and people want to look at themselves while they're working out. You see the dude over there crunching out the curls as much as he can. He's just looking at his bicep. It's just ripping in half as he's pulling up this very big weight when he's a very skinny guy, but typically at Gold's Gym they're pretty big. But yeah, it's very vain, and people want to look at themselves and be consumed with like how they look. And there's a balance. I mean, it's good to look in the mirror and be proud of the progress, but when you're just constantly looking at yourself, it's very vain. You're right.
And I will say that you need to care about yourself before you care about others.
Yeah, fill up your cup before you can fill up others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's just like with everything, there's a balance. And I think you and I have both caught ourselves getting over that balance at points. But I just think you need to be careful in fitness and not getting too consumed in yourself, because if you get too consumed in yourself in fitness, then it's just going to spread to other areas of your life.
It is.
And if you have if you believe that you have a purpose in this life, which I think that we all do, and you want to love others and care for others, and put them first,
Yes. Yeah.
then that's going to be very hard to do.
It is going to be very hard to do. Again, like you said, you got to fill up your cup first. You got to know kind of, you have to have discernment between what you need to do and what you, and you can attest to this too. We both get consumed with our sports and like what we do and how we're perceived by the public. But again, there's a balance to that. Balance is everything. So I definitely think that's interesting. I wanted to go over just one more random thing just to kind of put in there. So I know that there's a myth about stretching, and this is going to freak you out, Hunter. I think I told you this the other day. So stretching actually doesn't help prevent injury.
Okay.
How crazy is that?
Crazy.
So according to the CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control, 2006, they did a study. Stretching doesn't actually prevent injury. Getting blood flow before intense exercise does. And so there's another website that actually backed this up too. According to Pain Science, stretching a lot before a sport event may actually reduce your muscle strength. The only reason why people and I think personal trainers advocate for stretching is because it does make you feel good, and it's almost a placebo effect. And it does make sense that it would reduce muscle strength because it makes it more, it stretches it out more, and there's a less, what's it called, elasticity maybe, where it bounces back a little bit faster. And you guys can go do the research yourself as well. But I thought that was very interesting. I just kind of wanted to put that out there. It's kind of random. But stretching is kind of a myth.
Yeah, well, think about a rubber band. And when the rubber band's like compacted and together and hasn't been stretched out, it's at its strongest.
Yes.
But if you pull the rubber band apart and you continue to stretch it, then it's going to be longer,
and it doesn't
but
pull back as much.
It's going to be weaker.
That's right.
Throughout.
Yes.
So I think that's a way to think about our muscles.
Yeah, and dynamic stretching is better. Like doing movements to help promote blood flow would help prevent injury. And I think people don't do enough warming up before they go work out. They just go to the gym, they start pounding it out, and it's just not healthy for you. Is there anything you wanted to mention that just comes up to mind before we end this?
No. I just think, I think overall, I think fitness is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that fitness should be a part of everybody's life.
Absolutely.
Whether it be a big part or whether it be a minor part, I think that it should be part of your everyday life. Yes. And that doesn't mean that you have to do fitness every single day, but it's a very good habit to get in, and the benefits are crazy.
They are. It is crazy what fitness can do for your life. It can make you feel better. Your mind actually works better when you move. It works better once you get the blood flowing, because people now they're just not moving, and so I think our brain activity has gone down a little bit, and you could argue that we are getting smarter. We're reading more. There's more stuff. There's billboards everywhere. People are reading articles all the time. But moving is just such an important thing. And even if you can't go and just kill yourself, go walk. Just go for a walk.
Mhm.
Think about life. It's definitely healthy to do that. But yeah, overall, man, I'm getting a little throaty there. But yeah, just to close, fitness is definitely should be a part of everybody's life, and I 100% recommend it. And I have lots more facts that over time we could share on this podcast about fitness. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back with you next week.